Welcome to the 2016 UCI BMX Supercross World Cup Tour. I'm Pete Deluski. Thanks for tuning in. We're right in the middle of Group A's practice, and we're here in beautiful Santiago del Estero, Argentina, for the opening round. As you can see the track behind me, the riders are on track now, practicing, and they love this track down here. So right now we have picture perfect weather, a little bit of cloud coverage, so the riders are digging that because the temperatures are up there. It's going to be hot, just like that race action that you're going to see throughout the rest of the weekend. So here on the Dance Comp live preview show, we're going to try to bring in some riders. Practice was delayed a little bit because there was this freak little sprinkle of rain before, so the practice is delayed a little bit. So we usually try to get some of these riders, but they pretty much just started their practice a little bit ago. So as things are a little bit different here in the 2016 season, everyone's main focus and goal is these first three World Cups, as they are most of these countries qualifiers for the Olympic Games, and Santiago is one of these tracks where it's all about pure racing, full speed. Then we move over to Manchester in just 2 weeks. Again, a little bit shorter track, but again, good bar-to-bar, neck-to-neck racing, where we've seen a repeat winner for the last few years. Can anyone beat Liam Phillips on his home turf? We'll find out in just a few weeks. Then we have about a month off, and then we head over to Papendal. Again, one of those wide open supercross tracks. A lot of changes over there over this winter. Change the track up a little bit, so we'll see some different types of racing, and it'll be exciting to see. But as you can see here in Argentina, just a lot of stuff going on. The riders just starting to load into the gate for their practice. So the first 15 minutes of their practice, they're just test the track out, don't use the gate, but now they're loading up in the gate, and you can see some of the riders, mostly it's just coaches now and managers out here on the track getting in the information for these riders. But as we said, they just started practice, so it's going to be hard to get some of those riders here. But we can give you a little bit of info, a little bit of scoop on what's going on. As you would assume, a lot of the top riders are here in attendance. One notable rider who isn't is going to be Liam Phillips. Liam Phillips recently just signed a new deal with a new bike company, so I'm not sure if that affected his decision not to come here or if he's just focusing on Manchester, but Liam Phillips won't be here. But pretty much everybody else is here that's healthy, that's able to race. So it'll be interesting to see. We get to the men's competition. Liam Phillips was the winner here last year, so we're going to have a new winner this year. He had a great battle with Nick Kidman, and it'll be interesting to see, can Nick Kidman continue with the great season he had in 2015, not only winning that World Cup, but of course winning the World Championships, an incredible race for a first-year elite rider. When we move over to the women's, Mariana Pajon has been unstoppable on course here, but Caroline Buchanan's here, as well as some of the world's fastest riders that are all here looking to nip her heels and try to take her down, but she'll have the power of the crowd behind her when they get on track. So it'll be interesting to see. Good battles on both the men's and women's class. No changes to the track from last year, just a fresh coat of soil tack, and they're ready to go as fast as possible. So as you can see right now, try to pan down a little bit through the first straightaway. It's going to be a little bit difficult to see, but you can just see the riders on track. Nothing too interesting. Feeling the track out still, so you're going to see 4 to 5 riders on a gate at a time. And then coming down this second straightaway for the elite men, it's definitely a big, burly straightaway as they jump into this huge second turn. And as we go through that third straightaway, ultra technical, we saw a lot of mistakes happen there, but we also saw a lot of riders get through there silky smooth and make up time as they got around the track here in Santiago del Estero. So right now, as we said, this practice session is about 1 hour for these riders, so they're just in the beginning of it, and you see riders will attack the track a little differently. Some of the riders will go for those first straightaways just to see how they feel, how their power is coming, their output is, as well as get a feel of this track here. As I said, the track hasn't changed, so the riders that have been here in the past, just getting used to it, also fighting jet lag. It's a long trip down here to South America for most people, but as you may have seen on social media over the past few weeks, there was a lot of riders that were here already. They would have went to Colombia and get some pre-riding time on the World Championship track, as well as a test event, again, in Rio, just an open riding session for the riders to ride out that Olympic track in Rio. And so some of these riders have been in the time zone, and we're kind of in between time zones. For Europe, we're about 4 hours behind in time. From the Pacific on the United States, we're 4 hours ahead. So we're pretty much in the closest time zone for everyone on a tour for the majority of the riders at their event. So should be good racing coming along. As we said, a lot of the top riders, Mara Strombergs is here. He's been one of those guys that loves to come and ride this track. We've seen some riders that had some early season injuries. Someone like Anthony Dean, who's kind of come back and he's fought off that injury and he's back at full steam. And then you have those younger riders like Yagasaki Nakamaka from Japan. I know that's not his name, sorry. But he's going to be one of those guys that comes out. I had to get the early mistake in. So we got to have some of those younger riders looking to put a stamp on their career, because this is a very important season for those riders to gain country points, as well if they're looking as a goal to be someone who's able to attend the Olympic Games. So we've got to go through these races first. We have the World Championships in Colombia later on, back to South America. So it'll be interesting to see, but we'll get some takes from some of these riders, some of the coaches, and just to see what it's like. But we could kind of do a pan around, go up to just show you the gate facility. And as you can see, this track here in Santiago, an incredible facility. Both a 5-meter hill for the younger riders, and then this 8-meter hill here for the Supercross. And you can see right now a few riders loaded up in the gate, getting ready to practice. And then as you can see, as we pan down that first straightaway, two completely different first straightaways for the riders. Of course, you know, from the 8-meter hill, as you can see the riders coming down, a big barley first jump for both the men and the women, and then that big triple jump into turn number 1, a huge berm turn, and you see a lot of speed generated. We saw a lot of crashes in there, and as I said, coming down this second straightaway, it's pretty technical for both sides, but definitely on the men's side is where we see a lot of stuff go down. And you can see right there Vincent Pelliard rolling through turn number 2, and he's going to edge up and get ready to check out the rest of the track. So as we said, you know, practice is pretty standard. Practice is practice. We got these riders out here, but as you can see here, we got some of the coaches giving tips, watching these riders, and it's all about the support system that these riders have from each of these countries. Pretty incredible for those riders to come out and compete on this World Cup tour. So as we get through it, you know, again, this is one of those facilities where they're drawing a lot of riders, a lot of attention throughout the weekend, but today here on Thursday for practice is just hip. You can see the stands are about halfway full, and it's pretty exciting. You know, we have a lot of anticipation for the opening round of a Supercross, but especially down here in South America, these fans are so supportive of not only their own, but just riders in general for BMX. BMX is pretty big here, and right now, as you can see, it's going to be the biggest it's been since last year as we get ready for the opening round of the Supercross. Sam Willoughby just rolling through the track, so we're excited to see him back here in Santiago. So go back up, just get a little bit filler of the gate. Twan Van Gent, Amelia Falla. Those could be riders that are here. So yeah, as you can see from the flags on the track, no wind. You know, it's usually one of the biggest issues out on the Supercross track, rain and wind. And right now, we had a little bit of rain earlier on. It's perfect. The wind is at 1 or 2 miles an hour, so it's pretty perfect for these riders who are getting on track. And as you can say that, we see more and more riders getting in that gate, loading up next to each other. So the riders are definitely getting more comfortable as time goes on here. But as anywhere else, you want to ease into a day of practice, and especially here in the Supercross, especially at the opening round. And as we get in just a little bit more, we'll get to start to see some of these riders attacking that second straightaway as well as the third straightaway to see how things open up for each and every rider out on the track. But right now, it's a nice, chilled, relaxed atmosphere for most. I'm sure the riders who are up on the gate, you know, the seasoned riders, they're definitely relaxed, but there's still going to be nerves, still going to be butterflies for some of these riders. And, you know, we'll see how things pan out. So when we move on in our program, so today is full practice for these riders. So we have an hour and 15 minutes for Group A, which is the top 55 ranked riders in the UCI rankings. Then we move on to Group P. It's everyone 56 and over in points. And then Group C will be all of the elite women combined in their practice. Then we come back tomorrow. We have our pre-qualified riders for those super final time trials in each of the men and women's based off last year's overall rankings. Everyone else will jump into those qualification rounds, and they will try to fight their way in for racing, which we move over to the 8th finals, basically the Potos, on Saturday for the finale for the elite men, and the women will move into their quarterfinals, and then we'll go through the day, and then we'll have all of the action live from the quarterfinals on, from the elite men through the end of the day till we crown a champion here for the stop number 1 for the Supercross. So typical stuff that you'll see here. And, you know, as we're definitely excited to have, you know, a bunch of our sponsors coming back on board this year. Dance Comp, presenter of obviously today's Dance Comp live preview show. And on the bottom of your screen, you may see a discount code. Use that discount at dancecomp.com if you want to buy some BMX products. 15% off. You can't go wrong there. And we want to support those who support BMX. And we have Tioga, Shimano, a lot of companies jumping in. Chase Bicycles, we have ProGate. So definitely, and a lot hats off to the UCI for really making things happen once again strongly out here on the World Cup Tour. So you can see right here, one of the Latvian riders just conditioning in, looking in, seeing what's going on, connecting with his coach. You can see some of these riders are riding through that first straightaway, coming through that turn. As I said, just a little bit of a relaxed atmosphere out here for these riders. So definitely interesting. So as we pan up to the gate right now, we can see a few of the top riders. You see Connor Fields from the United States of America. And so you can see that it's the first one of their gates that are full with 6 riders in it. And just, like I said, those riders are feeling it out. They want to know, just get refreshed with the first straightaway here and see how things are going. So yeah, that's practice. Practice is incredible. But usually we're able to get 1 or 2 of those riders towards the end and get a feeling on the track. But so far, we've had some pre-interviews already today. Most of these riders looking forward to going on this track full speed. They said the faster the better. Some of the other tracks like Manchester, you actually have to go a little bit slower, scrub some of your speed to have the fastest lap around. Where here, it's all about full pedal power around this track. And you can see these big, wide open turns leave a lot of rooms for passing opportunities. But if you're the rider that gets out and gets that whole shot, you don't want to think about anyone passing you. And you can see, but in this turn number 2 here, we will see a lot of riders battling, especially when we get in those quarterfinals, semifinals, where top 4 only transfer. You're going to see a lot of bar banging, and you're going to see, unfortunately, riders crash. But that's the nature of BMX sometimes. Riders all want to be in that same spot. They all want to be number 1 right there. Speaking of number 1, that's Nick Kidman, and then you're going to have Daniel Franks. And those riders coming around, and they just love the track out here. So we'll go back up to that gate. Right now you can see time trial world champion, that's Joris Dode. He's going to lead those riders into turn number 1, shut it down, but as you can see, these riders just feeling out the gate, first straightaway, really getting anticipation for this weekend's event. So something new that you may have not noticed, at the end of the season this year, we have 2 events back-to-back now. There was a week in between. They've adjusted the schedule. So after all the Olympics, after all the big hype, the 2 final races for this year's World Cup Tour both be in America. We start out going back to Rock Hill, where we had our finals last year in South Carolina. A great track there. They have the World Championships in 2017, so you'll see a lot of riders going over there, getting some on-track time race conditions for there before we head down to Sarasota, Florida, which is a first-time event. And those are going to be the finals for this season, 2016's UCI BMX Supercross World Cup Tour. It should be interesting to see. Brand new track. It's still being finished, so it'll be interesting to see how things pan out. But Sarasota is definitely one of the most beautiful places in the United States. Always have incredible racing in the southern part of the U.S. In Florida, a lot of competition. And now with a few Supercross tracks in Florida, it'd be great to see the riders, and a lot of big names and a lot of new names should show up. As we know, once the Olympics happen, we're going to have some riders that that's maybe the end of their career. They're looking for one last hurrah to go out, and we're going to have these other riders that are moving in that want to make a name for themselves, and these will be some of those riders that you'll see at these races. Definitely be interesting, and as well as all the riders battling for that top 3 and a top position overall in the World Cup standings. So you can see it's an incredible facility here in Santiago. Just a perfect track to have in your town. And what a town this is. They've opened their arms up to the BMXers around the world to come into Santiago for this week, for the Supercross Tour, and just a lot of excitement for each of those riders, as well as seeing a lot of posters around town, billboards, TV commercials, newspaper, and the school kids coming out. It's going to be interesting to have such a great audience to witness BMX Supercross at its finest. So, as we have time now, as we said, we have some of these riders who've been able to ride the track a little bit, as well as ride some of the tracks down here. We'll get a word in with a rider that you may have missed towards the end of last season. That'll be Justin Posey. Justin's from the US of A, had a little bit of crash in the middle of the season last year, had to miss a few races, and Justin's back and looking better than ever. So Justin, talk about how it's been to come back to be top form again, one of the top riders in BMX Supercross.
Yeah, it's great. I mean, I've been through the injury process before 2 or 3 years ago, but nothing like this one. This one is a pretty brutal injury, but it's always good to be back competing. And yeah, it's just nice. I've been on the bike for a few months now and feeling back to form, and just in time for the Olympic cycle.
So you were lucky enough to go down to Colombia and then head over to Rio to test out both of those tracks. Give the fans a little bit of insight on each of the tracks, what to expect first for the World Championships, and then what we should expect to see in the Rio.
Yeah, they're both great tracks. They're very technical. Colombia is at altitude, so it'll be a tough track, demanding track. Rio's a bit bigger, wide open, but it's really fast, so it's going to make up for a great World Championships and a great Olympic Games. So let's just hope we keep everything rolling and we're in both of those events.
So coming into this event, you've had some standout races here. I know your goal, of course, is to come out and win, but where are you feeling right now with your recovery and with your training heading into the beginning of the season?
Yeah, I think the biggest realistic goal is being real with yourself. And sometimes we set expectations. Oh, I'm going to win an Olympic gold, or oh, this and that. And to be realistic, I just want to come out, put some good laps in, see myself in the semi to final ratio, and give it everything I have, because I mean that's what the sport's all about, is putting your heart and soul in it rather than just your physical abilities. So yeah, we're just looking to put some good laps in and start the season off right.
Well, thanks so much. We appreciate the insight, and good luck with the rest of the day of practice and this weekend of racing.
Thanks, Pete.
All right, so Justin Posey, again, one of those great riders. As we said, injury happens to a lot of the best, and Justin was just on his way up, and he's always been one of those top riders, but he really made a name for himself, especially here, making the main in Santiago a few years ago, and as we said, had that crash last year stateside, and just pretty much took him out for the entire season. But that's a lot you'll see a lot in BMX. You'll see a lot of perseverance. You'll see a lot of riders coming over, fighting things, whether it be injuries, economics, whatever it may be, where they live in the world, but they all come together here, and you can see those riders that have the heart and desire for BMX racing, and they usually are towards the top of the standings, and it's pretty interesting to see, especially someone like Justin. He's been one of those riders that's raced since he was a little tyke, 8 years old, all the way through the ranks. Now he's one of the top professionals in the United States and as well at any given day in the world. So we'll see how things work out for him as he's coming back and trying to make things happen here as we kick off this Supercross season. So you'll see more of these riders now a little bit more comfortable through the training process. As we said, as things progress, they will start doing a little bit more on full laps, and we'll see. But luckily we got to grab Justin there. Some of these other riders, as I said, just midway through this practice, so for them, they just want to get as much track time as possible. As you said, some of these riders have been here since Sunday or Monday, and they really want to get their time on the track. See a few riders already heading through that pro section. Exciting to see. So fans, you can interact with us throughout the Supercross Tour. You can do hashtag SX16, or you can tweet us at BMX Live TV or UCI BMX SX, and we'll try to get your questions answered throughout the webcast once we start with the racing portions of things to come. And we'll have, like I said, we'll have that for you tomorrow. You could go back to BMX Live or onto the YouTube channel to check for the countdown clock for when the events spring, as well as the schedules that were posted on the Facebook pages for you to know. But racing will commence tomorrow after we have and then we'll have the super final time trials tomorrow evening. So last year we saw some standout riders for some of the local riders, and we expect to see that again. But someone who's always done really well here is right here, number 44, Anthony Dean. Had a lot of success here, been in that finals second year, been on that podium each of the last 2 years, I believe, here in Santiago. Definitely one of his favorite tracks on the circuit, so he's always looking to have a good event. So as we're going through, so I think we have a perspective from the gate. I'm not sure if we have that second camera up there, give you a little bit of look of what it's like to be on top of that 8-meter hill. But as you can tell, these riders, when they're up there, it's definitely, you know, it's a big hill. They're still generating full speed towards that first jump, and you see that big gap on the first jump, and then they try to jump this triple into turn number 1. It's definitely a lot of speed needed for the first straightaway on most Supercross tracks, but especially on this one here in Santiago with such a large distance for these riders to get through that turn. And of course they want to be on the inside of that turn, but as you see how big that turn is a lot of room to navigate through for passing. And as we've seen in the past, some of those riders, sometimes they definitely want to be where the other riders are, and you'll see them bang bars. And definitely not a situation you want at full speed, but it happens. Sylvain Andre from France, number 39. He's always one of those stylish guys, one of the guys to be the first riders to go out and attack a track, jump the biggest jumps, and he's definitely one of the best personalities on this tour. So you can see Vincent Pelluard, number 120, in the subdued Troy Lee Designs racing kit. Barely tell he's there. Jimmy Brown from Canada, number 66. Ward Palmer. So yeah, so as we said, as we have these riders on track, now you'll start seeing them opening up a little bit more, going a little bit faster. We have Nick Long, Joris Daudet riding down this first, starting at the turn number 1. And so just getting through there, having a little playful fun as they ride through the track. Kyle Evans, number 211 from Great Britain. So, I've run to a place where I've run out of things to say. That's a first. But as we said, practice is here. Riders are definitely excited for today's event, but they just want to keep riding. So we're not going to get anybody to come and talk with us. And I don't blame them. Mara Strongberg's out on track. Let's take a walk back towards our starting hill. I'll let my cameraman try not to fall down the dirt ramp or myself. But we'll give you a behind-the-scenes view of what these guys go through as they load up for that 8-meter hill. So here, because we have that option with the second hill, They basically are walking up the 5-meter ramp, and then they head their way up to the 8-meter ramp. So as you can see right up here, 2 different sets of stairs to get up. They go past that 5-meter ramp, and you can see the coaches, they're in the most conspicuous place up there to get most of the footage for these riders to see how things look for each and every one of them. And so those guys are up there. They're getting, most of them are usually getting video. They're working on different things, and they're coaching their riders one-to-one. As they watch the race, they go back and video it, and as the rider comes back up the ramp, they get time to either overlap that video or to just dissect it, to really give those riders any little bit of tips that they might have done. As if they rode just down that first straightaway, sometimes it's a little bit more difficult to give full bits of information, but as the weekend progresses, you have these riders, coaches, videographers for some of these countries that are up in the stands, up on the ramps, up on the hill, trying to get as much video footage as possible to help give these riders any little bit of advantage. Because as you see, some of these races are won by a few tenths of a second sometimes, especially when we start talking about time trial events where things come down to the wire. So it'd be interesting to see as some of these riders, you know, how much that extra coaching really does help. And you'll see some of these riders that basically say they love to have the team around them, because all that extra information they get is what could be the difference between becoming in that final versus not being in the final. So sure. So we'll go back up onto our spot on the turn, give you that incredible behind the scenes footage of the ramp, of the set of stairs leading up the ramp, and see if we can get you some more riders as we're on track. That's definitely way more interesting than me talking about them walking up the ramp. So we'll see. As we said, you know, we have a lot of big name riders here, and we also have some of these younger riders that have been successful in the past and have trying to make their way through. One of those riders, young French phenom, that would be Romain Mahieu. Love to say his name because I say it different every time. But Roma, riding, been out here for a little bit. Tell the fans what the track is like.
The track is pretty smooth, pretty fast. There is nothing like complicated like on the other track on the circuit, but it's really fast and it's pretty good.
And so for you, how long have you been down in South America?
We came like 1 week ago to ride the track, but we couldn't, unfortunately. The track was rideable, but it was raining for 3 days, so we couldn't ride. So that's my first time riding the track.
So you had a little bit of a vacation down here?
Yeah, we had like 3 or 4 days vacation. We still training a little bit, so it was 4 good days.
So let's give some love to your French fans. Give them a recap of how practice has gone so far for you in French.
La piste est super rapide, il n'y a rien de très compliqué. Ça va super vite, comme je dis, rien de compliqué. Et un des meilleures pistes sur le circuit, sûrement.
Yeah, so what he said was the track's fast, he's feeling pretty fast, he needs to go faster if he wants to stand on that podium. So Roma, thank you so much for stopping by. Get back out on the track and pedal.
Thank you.
So we'll see some of these riders, young guy, he doesn't have the stamina some of these older riders, so he need a little bit of a break over there, come by and chat with us. We'll see who else is available. As now we're getting through practice a little bit, but as we said, most of these riders, they very needed practice time out here. Some of the riders that did try to come and ride early, as Roma said, they had a little bit of rain here last week, so they weren't able to ride the track, and then the track gets closed from I believe it's like from Monday on, so they might have been here last weekend trying to come in and ride the last 2 days, but unfortunately he wasn't one of those riders that was in other parts of South America getting some track time in. So yeah, that about sums it up for me here on today's preview show. As I said, just a lot of riders out there getting their time in on the track, and we'll see how things happen. As we said, tomorrow we'll have those qualification rounds and the super final time trials. Super final time trials will be shown live, and then as we move over to Saturday, we'll have those 8th finals for the riders that qualify through, and then we will show all of the racing live from those quarterfinals on in a 1-hour show. Should be interesting to see how things pan out as the weekend goes through. So we'll give a few more minutes here, see if we can find some riders. Doesn't look like we have any. But as you can see, a few will come back, as we said. Just come back, get some information, and we'll give you a little bit more insight, a little bit more video footage of these riders around the track. And you can see Nick Kimmin out front. That's pretty much the general vibe. A lot of practice, as we said, things were pushed back a little bit. Usually you have those interviews with some of those riders. So unfortunately, we just got a few riders here and there. But we have an exciting weekend of racing coming ahead. So make sure you tune in tomorrow for our qualification and super final time trials. Time trials will be live, as well as racing on Saturday from those quarterfinals on for the Elite Men. We'll have a recap of you of what you've missed leading up to that point, but it should be interesting. So thanks so much for tuning in. I'm Pete Deluski, and from Santiago del Estero, thanks for checking in on stop number 1 of the 2016 UCI BMX Supercross World Cup Tour. See you tomorrow.